and we know many of you have invested in the United States, and you have to say thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. You've made us even richer. But the fact is, other than yesterday, which was something pretty bad with respect to the virus, and we'll see what happens. I see the futures are up today, up fairly substantially. But that's a very serious thing, but we think we're in very good shape in the United States. We've essentially closed the borders to areas where we had to close them, and we had very few. We took in 32 people over the last 2 days because they were sick, and they're Americans, and they're great people. You know, what are you going to do? They're in quarantine. But we had essentially 12 people. Many of them are getting better now. Soon they'll all be better, we hope. And we're watching very carefully. So we've had a very good stretch of, let's just say we're fortunate so far, and we think it's going to remain that way. China is working very, very hard. I've spoken to President Xi, and they're working very hard. And if you know anything about him, I think he'll be in pretty good shape. They've had a rough patch, and I think right now they have it. It looks like they're getting it under control more and more. They're getting it more and more under control. So I think that's a problem that's going to go away, but we lost almost 1,000 points yesterday on the market, and that's something, you know, things like that happen where, and you have it in your business all the time, had nothing to do with you. It's an outside source that nobody would have ever predicted. If you go back 6 months or 3 months ago, nobody would have ever predicted. But let's see, I think it's going to be under control, and I think I can speak for our country. For our country is under control. But again, we do business with a lot of other countries. We take care, we work with other countries. We want other countries to be happy, healthy, and well. They've got to be happy, healthy, and well. It's very simple. And so let's see how it all works out, but I think it's going to work out fine. I hope so. We're working very hard. We're spending a tremendous amount of money also on, we just asked for $2.5 billion on getting everything ready just in case something should happen, and also helping other nations that really aren't equipped to do it. So with that, it's an honor to be with you, and if you'd like to ask some questions and find out how much you should invest in the United States of America, I'll tell you exactly where to invest and how to invest. We just did a lot of business with India where they're buying $3 billion worth of helicopters, great helicopter. We have helicopters like, we make the best military equipment in the world by far. And, you know, the Prime Minister actually said if you were president 30 years ago, would have all your equipment. But they started buying many years ago from another nation and others, and now they're starting to buy from us. So that's an honor. But we're up to a pretty high number. We'll be up very quickly to a pretty high number. And we do make by far the best, and they want to have the best. So that's what we do. So thank you all very much. If the press wants to stay for a couple of questions, you know, we're going to be having a news conference at 5 o'clock. So you can go to that, or you can stay and hear some of these questions from truly some of the greatest business leaders anywhere in the world. Now, if you'd like to do, I could do this, Steve. I could read the book for you, and we could have a nice, beautiful little speech. It will take 5 minutes, and you'll fall asleep, but they'll be, well, they might find it interesting. I don't know about them, but you guys have heard it before. But please, if you have any questions, please. Anybody? Okay, let's go home. Boy, we must have done a very good job if you'd have. Do you want to say something about the energy business?
Yes, sir. How are we doing? We're doing great, sir. My name's Dan Burriette. I have the privilege of serving in the United States. I'm the president. As his Secretary of Energy, we've had great conversations here in India with my counterpart, Minister Pradhan. I expect that in the very near future we're going to have some new energy deals.
Yeah.
And so far, that noise.
Sounds nice. Sounds like a Trump rally, actually. We're actually saying hello to the embassy people as soon as we finish.
Sir, I'll just end with this. In the last 2 years, we've seen a remarkable uptick in the purchases of U.S. oil and gas by India. And when the president was elected in 2017, that number was approximately 25,000 barrels per day of crude oil. It is now over 250,000 barrels per day, a tenfold increase. And we expect it to get better from here.
It's going up very, very rapidly. Thank you very much, Dan. Really great job. Where is Robert? Yes, please.
I'd like to hear why some of these companies have decided to invest in in the United States. We make big manufacturing.
Okay, good. Would anybody like to say? Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, I am Chandrasekharan, representing the Tata Group.
Yep.
First, let me start by following instructions. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for making a future.
Good.
And our group has 10 different companies in the United States. We have annual revenues of close to $25 billion. And we have manufacturing plants in Pittsburgh.
Great job, yeah.
And then we have a chemicals plant in Wyoming. And we employ about 42,000 people. And your tax reforms is exceptionally very, very important.
So which to you is more important, the tax cuts, we did massive tax cuts, or the regulation cuts? Because I've had a lot of people in your positions running the biggest companies in the world saying the tax cuts are very important, but the regulation cuts may have been more important.
See, regulation cuts are more important in order to start new businesses. As
Right.
well. For example, in our steel business, we have some issues which we have represented that have been resolved now. And we run a very large IT company as well in the United States. And we are bringing the skills. We are trying to work with Ivanka.
Right.
We want to try and skill 1 million people in the United States.
Well, that's fantastic, thank you, that's
So
great.
We are deeply engaged with the country.
I heard that you were doing that, and I really appreciate it, and Ivanka appreciates it. And, you know, she started off, she wanted to get 500,000 people jobs. And if you know her, within about 2 weeks, she had that one done. And I think you're up to over 15 million people being trained by great companies, some great companies. Walmart was very much instrumental in some of the companies in this room. Yeah, they've done a great. So it's up to 15. And I don't think government could teach jobs like that. In other words, you teach something and it's complex stuff. Government is not equipped to do that. We could put all the money we want into government to do it, and they're just not equipped to do it. So thank you very much. That's fantastic. Great story. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, you talked about regulations, so I
Right.
do want to confirm that in 2017, we put up the first automotive assembly plant in southeast Michigan in 25 years.
Right, that's right.
Making off-road utility vehicles. And the speed with which we could set up the company to get operations going, we have not experienced anywhere in the world. So we've invested about $1 billion, and right now we're in the shortlist of the bid for the United States Postal Service new delivery van, a decision which
Good.
will come out by the end of the year. And if that comes through, we're going to very happily put in another $1 billion and employ about 2,000 people.
Very good. You've done a great job. So when are the bids due? When are they due?
We are told sometime around August. The bid-
How many vans is it that you'd be making?
About 180,000.
Wow, that's a big business, isn't it?
When we were told that, you know, the postal service vans are actually, they're the right-hand drive.
Right, that's
They're
right.
diesel. So guess who makes right-hand drive diesel vehicles? Well, that's all Indian automakers. So
Yeah.
That's why we're bidding for it.
Good, well, good luck. That's great, that's good luck. Yes, sir, please.
So my name is Anil Bhatia, part of Jubilant. We have
Yeah,
invested,
good.
we've invested almost $500 million in the pharmaceutical, very sophisticated things like nuclear medicine, allergy. We are present in 22 states with almost 2,000 people. And the other thing that we are doing is starting drug discovery in America for oncology. That's a biotech venture for new drugs, especially for therapies
Right,
which
sure.
have very limited drugs available.
Right.
So my question to you is mainly on the healthcare side, how do you see it for companies like ours coming in from India,
Yeah.
setting up manufacturing plants in the States?
All right, healthcare is very important to the Republican Party, I will tell you, and we haven't been talking about it, we've been doing. We got rid of the individual mandate, which was a disaster in Obamacare, which really ended Obamacare. We're now taking the shell of Obamacare and really running it well. I had a choice. I could run it well or I could run it poorly. Then everybody would be upset and they'd blame President Obama. We decided to run it well, but would like to terminate it and put in great health care. We can do that. When you look at single...
different elements of this
तो
very
इस वक्त आप देख रहे हैं
extraordinary
विदेश मंत्रालय
visit by President
प्रेस
of the
वार्ता
United
की
States,
शुरुआत
First Lady. You have seen the level of enthusiasm yesterday in Ahmedabad. As you're aware, President arrived around noon yesterday. He was received by the Prime Minister. They proceeded, their first point of call was the Sabarmati Ashram in Ahmedabad. President and First Lady spent some time there, seeing the famous picture along with the Charka President. From there, of course, they went to Modera Stadium, where again, I think all of you have seen that event live with the capacity audience, an enthusiastic audience. The President then left for Agra, visited the Taj Mahal, and then returned to Delhi later that evening. This morning, the day started with the ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan, and both Honorable Rashtrapati Ji and Prime Minister were there to attend this important occasion. From there, the President went to Rajghat, to Gandhiji's Samadhi, paid his respects, and then, of course, that was followed by talks at Hyderabad House. There were both talks in the restricted format and the extended format. In all, the Prime Minister and President have spent over 5 hours in discussions at various stages from the time the President arrived yesterday till now. With regard to the talks, of course, you've seen some of the major outcomes already articulated during the press statements by both the Prime Minister and the President. But just in order to put it in some context, I would say that the talks fell broadly into 5 or 6 major categories. The first category was security and defense. The second category was in the realm of energy. The third category would be in terms of technology and trade. The fourth category would be really people-to-people contacts. And the fifth category would be, on the global aspects of the discussion, and then, of course, some regional issues of interest. Now, on security and defense, I think there was an understanding that we have a strong strategic partnership. It is now referred to as the Comprehensive Strategic Global Partnership. This is a partnership that has encompassed an extraordinary increase in both exchanges as well as in cooperation in various realms of defense and security domain. In the defense side, of course, it's fairly well known that we conduct some of the largest exercises, joint military exercises with the United States. We also have a very good defense trade and technology initiative which involves joint R&D, joint technology transfers. I think the President was very clear that he would give the highest consideration to India for procurement and technology transfer. Really looking at very fast clearances of cutting-edge technologies that concern our defense industries, joint collaborations. You would also, I think, seen that while we already had a fairly large defense procurement profile from the United States, we have recently acquired 2 more platforms for which the Cabinet Committee on Security had given its clearance. This was, of course, before the visit. But in all, I think we are talking about from the period of 2014-15 onwards, about $9 billion of acquisitions of defense equipment from the United States. In addition to this, we have the 2 sides have decided to set up a working group on cooperation on narcotics. This is clearly a high priority for both countries, and I think this is a good outcome. We have also decided to reinvigorate the Homeland Security dialogue, for which I think we will be looking for dates as soon as possible. Clearly, there is a lot that is covered in the realm of Homeland Security, and we are already doing a great deal, but this dialogue would help in providing direction and guidance on some of the major aspects of that cooperation. Energy has emerged as one of the most important areas of our bilateral cooperation. We have moved from a country that has not sourced any of its energy requirements from the United States to sourcing $7 billion in 2019, and we expect to source up to $9 billion in 2020 from the US. This is made, of course, crude oil and LNG, but it is an important factor of our diversification of our sources of energy. It is natural that the United States is the largest producer of energy in the world, would collaborate with India, which is emerging as one of the largest consumers of energy in the world. But we are not just sourcing these products, we are also investing in the production and technologies that are emerging in the energy sector in the United States. So this cooperation is multifaceted. It is, I think, designed to ensure that we have the best options before us, and I think it is a partnership which has the potential to increase significantly in the years to come. One new element in that is that we are also considering the import of coking or metallurgical coal from the United States. This is an area where we believe we need to diversify our source of imports. The US has emerged as a fairly competitive supplier in this area, and we are looking to have the visit of our steel minister to the US in this regard as early as possible. With regard to trade, I think you heard Prime Minister and the President. There's been very, very useful and comprehensive discussions on trade. There was an appreciation that trade has increased year on year steadily over the last few years. US exports to India had increased a fairly dramatic increase, and that there was a noticeable decline in the adverse trade balance from $30 billion a few years ago to $25 billion today. So the adverse trade balance is also gradually, I think, eroding with greater amount of acquisitions that we're making from the US in areas like oil and gas, purchase of commercial aircraft, etc. On the trade side, I think the two leaders have decided that we would conclude the ongoing discussions as soon as possible and give it a legal framework, and the text could be finalized with legal vetting as soon as possible. I think the two leaders also decided to move towards what was referred to as a big deal in the trade sector. As you are aware, the US is India's largest trading partner. Its largest, I think it accounts for 12% of our total exports. And of course, India is emerging as a very large market to the United States also. There are complementarities in this because there are a lot of areas in which we require goods and technology which we don't have from the United States and vice versa. So there's a mutuality of benefit in these complementarities, and these are the areas that we to focus on when we are when we begin negotiations on the large trade agreement between our two countries. We are also there was also a discussion on the people-to-people aspects of the relationship. There was a realization that there is a vibrant Indian community, a community of Indian origin in the United States who contributed significantly to both the economy and society, disproportionately. At the same time, it is important that areas like education are also covered in the people-to-people relationship. There are over 200,000 Indian students in the United States. There are academic exchanges, and these are valuable. On the whole, I think from our side, there was the issue of H-1B visas were raised. I think it was pointed out that Indian professionals contribute significantly to the development of the high-tech sector in the United States. They contribute to an increase in the competitivity of the high-tech sector. At the same time, in addition to the technical capacity and innovative, let's say, approach that they bring in to their work, they also provide value from the point of view of their, let's say, democratic background. I mean, we are both, we have that common, I would say, area of ideology in terms of values and principles that we both believe in democracies as countries. And this is an area that I think Indian professionals can fit in better when it comes to working and contributing to other democracies in the world. The issue of totalization also came up. There was a sense that Indian professionals who spend less than 8 years but nonetheless contribute towards social security and other benefits in the US system really need to get that money back if they spend less than the minimum time for which they are reimbursed. This is an issue, and I think something that was flagged in the discussions. On the global side of things, there was a focus on connectivity. Clearly, this is also part of what we vision in the Indo-Pacific to increase connectivity, to increase contributions to linking countries, the Indo-Pacific, both through maritime and land and air routes. At the same time, I think there was a sense that the principles that we have enunciated with regard to connectivity also fit in with some of the initiatives that have recently been espoused. So there is a convergence on some of the issues that we are thinking of. There is also some sense that we need to work together to address the issue of pandemics in terms of information exchanges, in terms of working on health requirements, working on ways to control these pandemics, and also in terms of how to protect our respective populations in terms of pandemics. And that was particularly in the context of the coronavirus that's currently a concern in many countries. The United States also announced its decision to have the Development Finance Corporation, the United States International Development Finance Corporation, established a permanent office in India, and at the same time would make $600 million available in terms of concession financing. And that also is part of the overall efforts to boost cooperation in the Indo-Pacific and other areas. There were some regional and other issues that were discussed. On the whole, extremely comprehensive discussions, extremely cordial discussions, excellent rapport and chemistry between the two leaders, very high level participation from both sides, and on the whole, so far we see that most unprecedented historic visit, as I think the two leaders called it, and certainly something that we can say that with a great amount of pride, that there was a great deal of appreciation for the hospitality and warmth by which the people of India and the Prime Minister received the President and his delegation. And of course, we have a few more events. The President has gone for a private event involving business interaction. And of course, the evening will have a dinner banquet hosted by Rashtrapati Ji in honor of the visiting President, after which he will leave to return back to the United States. So I repeat what I said the last time we had a media briefing, that this is the first standalone visit by a president of the United States to India. We have never had a president that has come only to visit India, and I think in many senses this also means a very unique visit, given the vast public outreach achieved through many of the events, in particular the event at Motera Stadium in Ahmedabad, and also the sort of reinforces the strong bonds at the people-to-people level between India and the United States. So I'll stop here. I don't know if the ambassador wants to say a few words, otherwise we will take some questions. Want to say anything?
I think the Foreign Secretary has basically covered everything. I just want to add this much, that from the US perspective also, a very significant message has gone with the